The following presentation discusses ethnographic research presented by Olivia and Sanjay.
What is ethnography? Ethnography is about figuring out how people live and interact every day. We get to see what people think and do, and even the sights and sounds around them. It's all about understanding people's lives from the point of view. Martin Hemsley, who studies society, says our job is to really capture what life is like for different groups of people. We try to see the world just like they do. This isn't about just watching, it's about feeling and understanding the world from inside. So, with ethnography, we dive deep into people's lives, learning about them in a way that's really detailed and personal.
What is the purpose of this method? Ethnography has its roots in anthropology, and just like a traditional anthropologist, ethnographic researchers immerse themselves into spaces to better understand the context of that space. This better informs researchers by giving them access to the daily activities, cultures, and needs of the users in their own environment, just like traditional anthropologists engage directly with cultures that differ from their own instead of studying from afar. This is the best method to use when you don't know what questions to ask in an interview, you don't understand the users, and therefore, how can you understand their problems? And also when you lack the experience to determine appropriate and relevant topics to discuss with the users.
So, early researchers found that to get a real sense of people's lives, they needed to dive in and live among them, not just observe. This meant spending years within communities very different from their own, learning from the inside. This deep dive into cultures involved into what we call modern ethnography. It's a way of studying people by being part of their daily lives, which helps us see the world from their perspective. This approach was really pushed forward by thinkers like Malinowski. They taught us that to grasp the richness of a culture, you have to be more than a visitor. You need to become a part of it. This shift to getting fully involved has opened our eyes to similarities and differences among cultures, enriching our understanding of humanity. It's a powerful reminder of how important it is to immerse ourselves in other worlds to truly understand them. Common methods of ethnographical research. There are different ways we try to understand people and their culture. One method is called passive observation. Think of it as a shadowing someone without them really noticing you're there. This method lets us see how people naturally behave without any influences from us. Before we start this shadowing, we usually have a chat with the subject to know them better. And while observing, we keep track of what we see, maybe by jotting down notes or even recording videos. But then there's another approach that's more hands on, known as active participation. In this method, researchers don't just watch from a distance, they just dive deep in. They join in on the activities, living the experiences alongside the people they are studying. It's like if you want to really understand a fishing community, you wouldn't just watch from the shore. You just get in there, help make the nets, catch some fish, and share meals with them. This way, by being part of their world, researchers can get a much deeper dive understanding of the culture from the inside. Lastly, we have something called contextual interviews. These are conversations that happen right in the middle of the action or just after. By talking to people in their usual surroundings, researchers can see how they behave in real situations. This way, the questions asked and the answers given are all tied to a genuine experience and interaction, offering valuable insights that you can't get from a distance.
There is a typical procedure that goes along with ethnographic research. First, you would select a group of interest. This step is similar to planning a case study. If the group is specific, such as a nearby elementary school or a hospital, this is an easy process. Choosing a group can be difficult if the study is more general, though. An example would be creating a product for all hospitals or all elementary schools. Next, you would choose your role. A complete participant involves working alongside of and even living near or with subjects to get a complete understanding of their lives. This then ranges to a minimal participant. This person remains detached from their users while being present to study them, which can lead to a lapse in understanding the context of their surroundings that ethnography seeks to cover. Avoiding these extremes and sticking to an ethical, observant role can make the best out of your time in research. Next is building relationships. It is difficult to work with people who don't trust you, and building a good rapport with the users and respecting their space can help ease any tensions and make research for you and your team much easier. Next is making your contacts. The initial users you talk to are very important, so choose wisely. The first users you talk to will influence how you perceive the rest of the group and the setting, so it's best to remain neutral and be mindful of different viewpoints that could be operating within the group. Next, you would gather data as you normally would with any method. You would interview, observe, and analyze. Lastly, you would report your results. Similar to case study reports, as in it is the summarization and presentation of major findings, along with evidence and discussion of any rival explanations you may have found competing data for within your research. You may be wondering if this method is a bit much compared to traditional methods when used in the context of technology and development. But sometimes it can be difficult to understand how people use technology and how they can best benefit from it. Some groups use technology differently than others, so it is best to get context for their usage in the best way you can. This method is at its best when it is used in the context of workplace groups, specifically for groups that are not familiar to UX researchers and developers. For example, a team of UX researchers shadowing surgeons to find out how emergency room software can be used to enhance productivity and patient care. This method is very closely related to participatory design. Why? Because by immersing themselves in the settings of these users, researchers are allowing the users to be involved in shaping what the final product needs to be, since they're directly shaping the researcher's understanding of what problems are present and how they can be fixed. While participatory design focuses primarily on involving users in shaping solutions, it is best to think of ethnography as involving the users in shaping problems.
One interesting example of ethnographic research was when Google Maps first made its way to India. It didn't quite hit the mark with the motorcyclists. Many riders didn't stick to the suggested paths, and overall, the app wasn't getting much traction among them. A team of researchers decided to dig deeper into this phenomenon through ethnographical studies in Indian cities like Delhi. They discovered that motorcyclists often avoided the border car routes, opting instead for the slider alleyways that served as shortcuts, allowing them to zip to their destination quicker and dodge the traffic. This insight was a game changer, prompting Google Maps to roll out new features specifically for motorcyclists. This update was designed to offer quicker, bike friendly routes, significantly improving the navigation experience of two wheelers users. Some of the strengths and limitations. So, when Google Maps introduced motor specific navigations in India, after ethnographical research, there was a noticeable uptake in app usage among motorcyclists. Users reported that the new routes were saving time and avoiding traffic, directly impacting their daily commute positively. As you can see in the image here, two wheelers mode show which routes are accessible to motorbikes. This feature includes shortcuts for faster arrival time. Note that there are different routes for cars and bikes, and landmarks for stronger orientation, and additional languages for inclusive voice navigation. Despite the improvement, some motorcyclists in less urbanized areas found that Google Maps did not account for off road paths commonly used in their regions, indicating a limitations in the research geographical coverage and the need for more comprehensive data gathering.
There were also three main implications of this study. First, could the data collection of cyclists be used to disrupt the market of competing industries? When considering that bicycles and motorcycles are both environmentally friendly alternatives to cars, the impacts of this data could be a major blow to environmental sustainability. Secondly, routes for two wheelers in India are very pedestrian heavy. Is it ethical for Google to try and push a distracting app for people to use in these areas? Would this result in more accidents while using the app or other issues? Lastly, Google Maps is an application that tracks user location. If more people are using the app who otherwise wouldn't have before this update, that means that more users have the potential to be tracked by data analysts for products or industries that they themselves do not support. This has been a presentation by Olivia and Sanjay.